Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this De Luze VSOP and XO tasting. Thank you for working with De Luze, and we hope that you're enjoying our products. My role here today is to give you some more information to help you better understand our philosophy, where we're coming from, and what our strategy is all about and what we're aiming for. My name is Bob Eastham. I'm International Director of Cognac De Luze, and I travel in different countries around the world working with our distributors on developing our brand and on developing the knowledge that our partners and our customers and ultimately, of course, the consumers have of De Luze. So I'm going to talk to you about a brand which can very safely boast that 70% of all the liquid which is inside of any of its fine champagne blends, for example here VSOP or XO, is coming from our own vineyard, and 100% is coming from our own distillery. That means that our own vineyard, which has been built by the Bueno family over the last decades and centuries, has reached a size today of 410 hectares, that's nearly 1,000 acres, 100% in the Grand Champagne region of the Cognac appellation, and is currently the biggest single vineyard owned in Cognac which doesn't belong to a major group. Only one organization owns a bigger vineyard than De Luze today, and that is Pernod Ricard. From those 410 hectares we are producing De Luze fine champagne cognac, but that also means therefore that we need petit champagne from our partner vineyards which are surrounding the Grand Champagne appellation. Our partner vineyards supply us the wines that we then distill with our own wines from Grand Champagne, and to become ultimately, after aging and the blending processes, to become fine champagne cognacs. Fine champagne cognacs legally mean that a minimum of 50% of the liquid inside the blend must come from Grand Champagne. We are putting in these blends of Cognac De Luze fine champagne 70% of Grand Champagne minimum, and 100% of that 70% is coming from our own vineyard. Also, all of the liquids, as I said previously, be they from Grand Champagne or from Petit Champagne, are distilled in our own distillery by our own colleagues and personnel. Then, after distillation, the eau de vie, or the spirit, as you may like, are aged in Limousin oak barrels of 350 litres, which are produced also here on our site by our own colleague coopers, who are producing the barrels that are required for De Luze aging on a regular basis. The aging process is much longer than many other cognacs because of this very high content of Grand Champagne in the blends of De Luze. And then after the aging process we are blending the different ingredients together, 5, 6 different ingredients, to give these wonderful products such as these VSOP and XO that we have in front of us today. De Luze VSOP is a blend of eau de vie, or the spirit, which of which the minimum age is 4 years old, and the oldest is actually coming from our own harvest here in Grand Champagne at our own vineyard of 1989. That gives it a tasting age of approximately 10 to 12 years old. De Luze XO fine champagne is coming from different eau de vie or spirits, of which the minimum, the youngest, is 10 years old, and the oldest is from our own harvest here in our own vineyard of 1980, so 32 years ago. That gives us a tasting age for this XO of over 20 years. Both over the aging process, throughout distilling, aging, blending, and then once in the bottle, have developed their own very singular characteristics that we're going to compare here today. There is a very simple process and ritual that we like to follow here at Cognac De Luze when you are tasting such premium eau de vie or cognacs as these. These eau de vie develop, thanks to the long aging, a three-dimensional taste profile. That three-dimensional taste profile contains floral expressions, fruity expressions, and spicy expressions. When taking a glass of this, we need to measure at different levels through our nose the different expressions that I've just mentioned. But first of all, let's look at the colour of these two different cognacs. Here we have the VSOP and here we have the XO. If we take these two glasses, you can see a slightly darker, more intense golden colour in this glass of XO. In the glass of VSOP we have a lighter, more amber golden colour, and here we're more antique gold. If we look at the texture and compare the textures of these two different cognacs, you probably can't see on the film, on the camera, but when you do in your own office or at home, you'll be able to see the very thick texture that has coated the inside of these glasses. And you will see a line running around the inside, which is defined as you're turning your glass around and as you have reached the edge of the cognac on the inside of the glass. Slowly, that line will turn into little legs which will run down inside the glass, and you will see, if you look at how long the legs take to run down, you'll see and perceive the thick texture of these two cognacs. Obviously one, because it's much older, looks and can be perceived as being much more thicker than the other, which is younger and lighter. Now when we are tasting cognacs of this pedigree, we have to be very careful at the different levels that we place our nose, so that we can really perceive the three-dimensional profile of these cognacs. At this level, above the glass, you'll be able to smell the flowers. At this level, on the edge of the glass, you will smell the fruits. And slightly inside, you will smell the spices. Now, we never like to tell consumers or partners what they have to smell, because every nose is a theatre in itself. You have a different experience to the experience that I have over life, and you can smell different flowers or fruits and different spices and things that I can't smell, but I can smell different ones to you. So I'm just going to tell you what I can smell, and then perhaps when you're doing this yourself, you will be able to smell something similar to me, or you will have other expressions that will awaken and arouse your senses. In terms of the nose of the VSOP, I can smell the roses that I currently have in my garden this spring season, which are quite characteristic of the season. This rose is perhaps an old English rose or something which is very discreet. You're walking down the garden and you can smell a flower, you turn around and you can see it's a rose. Closer we have the fruits. Now these are not dried fruits in the VSOP. The VSOP being a younger cognac, the expression of the fruit has not yet reached the dried fruits. We're on candied or cooked fruits. And when I'm nosing the VSOP, it always reminds me of those traditional English apple pies that my grandmother used to make. Now, when you put your nose slightly inside the glass, you can smell the spices. Now on the VSOP, the spices are not too powerful. They're expressed by, first of all, the vanilla coming from a certain woodiness and the time that the cognacs have spent inside the barrel. But also they've developed into things like toffee, cinnamon, and something which may make you smile, but perhaps you will perceive it when you try yourself, in that when you open a box of chocolate powder, I can smell that dryness of the chocolate powder. Now we'll go through the same ritual with the XO. We've already seen the colour, we compared the colour, we compared the textures. So now the three levels of the nose. The XO has developed into something more, how can I say, more complex. The extra 8 or 10 years of aging have developed into more complex, perhaps more rarer flowers. I can smell the jasmine, which is just about to start flowering in the garden. My jasmine, not the jasmine obviously on the XO. The fruits on the edge of the glass are much drier. They remind you more of the Christmas fruits, a Christmas cake. And when smelling inside the glass, the spiciness, which is more complex than the VSOP. Slightly minty, eucalyptus, which is an expression coming from very old cognacs. But also toffee, the vanilla as well, very complex vanilla, not so fresh as in the VSOP. And cigar box, cedar wood, which is makes a very pleasant mélange of bouquets. Now, a very small sip which should be pushed around by the tongue on the inside of the palate. This is a second expression of the texture. You have a slight oiliness which is coming from the cognac, and which will coat the whole of the inside of the palate and allow a small explosion of the flavours that you've already perceived on the nose. A bigger sip. And you can feel a very smooth, fresh, fruity, and with a good balance of spices, but not too much. Easy to drink VSOP. It's complex, but it's not complicated. It's not heavy. It's light, but it's still got full of flavour. And when you are drinking, there is absolutely no strong bitterness or burning sensation in the back of the throat as the cognac is going down. Now the XO. A small sip pushed around inside the mouth, and a totally different expression of flavours, much drier. Less fruity, more spicy. The balance between the fruitiness and the spiciness is slightly skewed now, a little bit more to dried fruits and going into the spices. And a bigger sip. Which still presents no burning sensation, very warm. We're talking about a cognac here of over 20 years old. And a very pleasant, balanced fruitiness and spiciness, which may make some people think about Christmas flavours. Now, why is this possible? Why is this three-dimensional nose possible? Why is there no burning sensation? Why do we see such a thick texture? Is that De Luze is based on a very clear principle, a very strong philosophy, which can be resumed in a single phrase. Nothing taken away, nothing added. That means that before distilling, when we have our wines from Grand Champagne, from our own vineyard, from Petit Champagne, we don't filter those wines before the distillation process. That means that we're not filtering away the future taste of our cognac. By not filtering, by only using wines on the lees for the distillation process, we get a much thicker, more oily eau de vie, which then is concentrated and is better for aging over time, giving a thicker and oily, flavoursome cognac. Over time, because we have such a high proportion inside our blends of Grand Champagne cognacs, we have the requirement to age our cognacs longer so that they reach perfect maturity, but also B, because of our own philosophy, we have the desire to allow our cognacs to express their full aromatic potential. And it's thanks to this longer aging that we get the three-dimensional taste profile, which is very clearly perceptible on the nose. And finally, the third principle, which gives us that very strong quality philosophy, is that we do not add any caramel. We can see this in the blend that we have in front of us, in the VSOP, in the XO. Very strong association in colour. Golden colours, slightly yellow. One is darker than the other, but that is normal because of the longer aging and the stronger concentration with the additional 8 to 10 years of aging. But there is no red or black hints or sparkle in any of these cognacs, and that's the proof, visual proof, that there is no caramel inside. And then when we tasted these cognacs, the VSOP and the XO, we could actually perceive in our tasting process when we were drinking the cognacs that there is no burning sensation. And bizarrely, although caramel is coming from sugar, it gives a bitterness and a burning sensation when we are tasting a cognac. So that's just a small, very rapid tasting of VSOP and XO from De Luze, with a very quick explanation of what our philosophy is, nothing taken away, nothing added. And thanks to this principle, and thanks to the fact that we master every stage of our own process, from the vineyard to the bottling, from Cognac's largest privately owned vineyard of nearly 1,000 acres, through Cognac's largest privately owned distillery with 41 pot stills, and the possibility of mastering our own distillation process for our own brand, and then through our own cooperage, our own barrels, our own aging cellars, our own blending cellars, and our own bottling, we're able to offer a 100% natural cognac, which we like to say is the choice of delight. Thank you for your time.